I am joined by the esteemed Mr. Loudon. I'm Brett Spindler, responsible for our enterprise software business. We effectively work at the delivery of software at scale across some of our enterprise customers. Andrew, if you would.
Yeah, so Andrew Loudon, Managing Director for DAR in the UK, or Schneider as we just rebranded. So we're basically a large 20,000 strong design, management and engineering consulting firm. So we developed a new building, maybe just touching that just now, Brett, as an intro. So we developed a new building in the centre of London, about 250 million investment. So we were basically the developer, owner. We designed the building. We designed the building as well. All our businesses are coming into the building. So we basically have adopted the whole process. And we worked with Schneider to help us during that.
Fantastic. So, I mean, really interesting concept to say headquarters and then pull in all of your subsidiaries into the same space, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was more like a business change project. So we were bringing different brands that we have. So like Perkins and Will, they're one of our companies, Curry and Brown, all into the one building. So it's the first time in our group we've actually done that. So it was quite an interesting change for everyone concerned. So we've only just started occupying the building in the last 12 months. So we don't have a full 12 months of operation yet.
But with that business change, or the change in thinking around how you infrastructurally run your business, you've adopted a new thought around how to create the space for that to work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the space was all about collaboration, understanding how people work and interact together, and encouraging firms to come together. So we used Schneider's technology. So we've used it from the intelligent BMS system all the way through to operations. So all the systems, plan-on systems, all the way through the building. So it allows us to really accurately look at how the building operates. So from a performance perspective, in terms of the people perspective as well. So there's a lot of interesting data and information that we get generated.
And then taking the process from the design phase, you've really thought about how does it live, right? Yeah. And what systems you need to put in place.
Exactly. Yeah, so when we started out, we thought, let's look at a kind of blue sky approach to this. So what technology could we look at bringing into the building to enable us to operate better? And I guess as a consulting firm, we wanted to have something different. So our clients and customers, when they come and see us in the building, they say, oh yeah, you've done all this. So we took the approach of, let's push the boundaries here and what we can actually do. So it's been very successful.
So when you talk about pushing boundaries, one of the immediate things that comes to mind is how you've thought about the operation or the business of the building and the physical operation of the space. So what have you done in that?
So I think it's one of the things, so you design a building and you do it for all the right reasons and you create the space. And what's been interesting in the first year is to truly look at how the space is actually being used. And so some of the assumptions we made around how the building will operate and what we assumed have changed just from seeing data that the building produces.
So good example of what you've learned that's different?
So I think, for example, we basically were developing the building through COVID, for example. So how do we attract people back into the building? And surprisingly to us, and from the analysis, we get a lot of people coming back into the office very quickly. Obviously a new, nice environment, but we could also look at how the building was performing, air quality, all of these kind of things. So there was some interesting things like that. A lot of the businesses thought, wow, we weren't aware of that. And I think in terms of the space, we will probably do some retrofit next year. So some of the space we thought this will work well. Meeting rooms.
Yep.
So the data from the meeting rooms, we look at them and they're not getting used efficiently. So typically, 12-person meeting rooms, over all the rooms on the client floor will be used maybe 70% of the time, but it can be an average of 3 or 4 people in each room. So we're getting that data and looking at how we'll probably repurpose some of the space.
And then you can start using that space with greater intensity and more fit for purpose.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for the customers and clients, so I think we both, with Schneider, we've had prospective clients, mutual clients come around the building, and they found it very interesting just to see how it operates. Because I don't think there's been many buildings, where it's really happened.
No. I mean, really, in real terms around this project, it's certainly one of the first projects of its type that we've seen globally. And I think one of the interesting use cases is thinking about the planned use of space and then the actual use of space.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there is a difference, right?
There is, yeah, correct. And I mean, just one simple one, for example. So we have a staff restaurant facility. And typically in London, London on a Friday is quite a quiet place.
Yep.
And we actually decided, look, let's not open the restaurant on a Friday now. We looked at the pure stats that came out and said, there's maybe 20% used, so let's not open it. So, you see these live things. If we didn't have that information, we'd probably have kept going for another 6 or 12 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so thinking about the data you're gathering and how it's operating, I guess it gives you a great opportunity to optimize the cost associated with the space, right?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so I think, in the first year just now, we're still gathering data.
Yeah.
But I think when we start to look at that data a lot more closely, how the FM people run the building for us, how we do some more planned and, predictive maintenance. So I think when we start to get that, it'll really start to show value.
And I think just tied to that you don't actually know at this point what kind of savings can be generated. You need time for that.
You need time,
those
exactly.
processes to mature.
Yeah, so I reckon probably in 6 months' time we'll be in a position to really do some pretty strong analysis of how it's performing.
Actual impact, right?
Actual impact. Yeah.
And the people in the building, the people using it?
Yeah, they love the building. I think it's interesting. And again, getting back to the COVID point, I think it was important for us to get a lot of the young people back into the building, because a lot of our, we take on a lot of graduates every year. So, it doesn't work for them unless they have people round about them getting mentored. And so we see a lot of the younger people coming in. Our occupancy is higher than we thought it would be.
Yep.
And one of the things we're about to embark on, we're about to basically look like a living lab type of idea, incubation space within the building as well. So we're looking to bring customers in. And I think a lot of clients we speak to, they're really keen to come in and use the space.
Right.
If they're visiting London, they might not be meeting us, but they'll come into the building anyway and use it. So it's been very positive. Yeah.
And you find that, so you're looking to attract the younger generation.
I think for a consulting firm, a lot of us are in the engineering world, you've got to attract and retain. I mean, that's the biggest issue for us as a business is talent. And I think having an asset like that, getting them involved in how it runs as well.
Right.
So we actually get some younger groups involved in how we put the building together. From some of our different businesses, so that allowed them all to be part of the process. Yeah.
So, in that process and in that thinking, obviously we have silos that still operate in the business, and it's important for those silos to exist. But when you start thinking about the operation to enable those data silos or those businesses to start interacting together,
Absolutely.
You're seeing a difference in how people think?
We see quite a difference. I mean, one of the things with, you're all welcome to visit us in London, but the building design was all about collaboration. So we have an atrium with a staircase that links all the floors. Yeah, and you can see through all the floors. So what we want to do is encourage people to mix and work together from the different firms, not force them to do it. And the interesting thing we've noticed is that's happening, without having to, from a management point of view, force it to happen. So we see that interaction. The data shows us, some of that actually happening.
So your thinking is to take the physical architecture of the space, the data architecture, combine both actual use and planned use to drive a holistic and more effective experience.
More efficient and more effective. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And you feel that you said you're seeing people return to the building or come into the building faster than expected.
Faster than expected, yeah.
Right.
And I think a lot of clients have come in and looked at the building and realised, wow, this is so, because a lot of clients are planning to make changes to what they do, how they operate with their assets. And I think they've been very surprised the amount of information and how we can run the building very quickly. So I think the other things with the building, so in terms of we're smart, I better ask Dan here, make sure I get this right. So I think we're smart platinum, smart score platinum, BREEAM outstanding, LEED platinum, and Wire gold. So we managed to get all of these certifications, which has been good.
And that's obviously part of your use case and what you want to take to market is
absolutely
not only internal validation, but external
correct, exactly.
confirmation.
And I think, for example, our architecture business, Perkins and Will, I mean, they're probably number one in the interiors market within the UK. And a lot of what they're doing for clients is a lot of repurposing of space. So they're using a lot of the data as evidence to how they actually look at designing space for clients.
Right.
Show how it actually works in practice.
Okay.
So rather just looking at the aesthetics, start to use some of the data to shape some of that.
And then having the space gives you a really nice opportunity to bring people in and show them what it means in the real world. Right?
Exactly. And I think from a business point of view, we've got net zero commitments as well.
Yep.
So from an ESG point of view, it gives us all the information we need. So we'll use this as the kind of benchmark for all of our businesses globally. To say, right, here's the kind of information we can get. So we'll use that and integrate that into our ESG process as well.
And do you see what you're learning from this impact and fundamentally change how you're taking your value proposition and your use case to market?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we've now set up a digital advisory practice within the business as well. And I think one of the kind of lessons, and people say, what are the kind of lessons learned in some of this? We should have involved you guys probably earlier in the process. I think we went off in a typical, design process, design a building, very building and aesthetic orientated, planning orientated, and we didn't deal with some of these issues early enough, and it would have driven some of the design decisions. Yeah.
So it's a really interesting point because we do see a lot of the industry still focuses the way it's done historically. So you have a capital build, and then you think about how you operate.
Absolutely.
But if you integrate that operational thinking into the design of the space,
correct,
you fundamentally change the whole process.
Absolutely, yeah. Right. And that's worked very well for us. And I think, I think a lot of, designers, they're still quite traditional at times in their thinking and what they want to do. So we're trying to help them and say, well, start to use the data in some of this. So evidence-based data design as well, coming into some clients. The information as well when you're dealing with public sector and private sector. So, the data from the building is going to be fundamental for our guys when they're working with government clients.
And there's a fundamental change when you take something off a PowerPoint and put it into the built world, right?
Exactly,
you can see, touch, feel, experience this.
Yeah, so, we will, we're in the process of doing this now. So, developing a digital twin of the building.
Yep.
So we've got dashboards that will be shown all around the building, which shows how the building's performing. In live time. We've got it in our big entrance reception as well.
Yep.
We have flashes coming up of how the building's actually performing. So there's a lot of people are actually quite surprised about having that information.
So do you find that people's behavior changes when they start to understand what's actually happening in their building?
Yeah, they do. It's taken, I think it's like anything else in education. There's, things like room booking systems.
Yep.
Some guys are not used to using them, and the lights switch off 5 minutes before the meeting finishes. Got a lot of complaints about that for a while. But I think it's an education.
Yep.
Getting them to understand, why it's built that way, why it's been designed that way, and they get it. So.
And so it starts to change your behavior because you understand about what's happening behind the scenes.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So what's next?
What's next?
Yeah.
I
mean, you've begun this amazing journey.
Well, I think it's described as a live lab. So we're going to be constantly evolving the building. It doesn't, just because we've done this doesn't mean it's finished. It's the kind of start of the journey, as we describe it. So, so some of our technology people will be looking at how we take that intelligence, and how we actually use it with clients, how we use it to change the building.
Yep.
It'll be interesting probably in 18 months' time what will probably have changed in the building.
Well, it's a different way of thinking about your space, right? We traditionally think about these as really static spaces.
Exactly.
And things you build once and use for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
Your thinking is evolve the building as our use of the building changes.
Absolutely.
So it's really
so you got, we deliberately have a wonderful roof garden up on the top floor with views across the city. So we see a lot more of events happening, some industry events using the building, which we're trying to encourage. The client floor we have on the first floor, that's going to change, within the next 12 months in terms of how we actually use it, fundamentally, from conferences, clients coming in and using the space now and asking to use it. Some mutual clients we have doing that, so it's good.
Excellent. Well, it's an exciting journey. We appreciate participating with you.
Been great.
And we look forward to seeing the evolution of the building as we go forward.
Absolutely. You're all welcome to visit.
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.